Wherever you're at in the world. Got some more CGL action coming your way. Part of a Super Sunday of sorts they have going on here, because while people may have their eyes on the OWCS stage, we got plenty of CGL Season 16 playoff action for you. I am Megalas. I'm joined with Soav on my side. How you doing today?
I mean, I'm great. I've been following along with OWCS because obviously I'm not in Stockholm, and a lot of us aren't. But thankfully, we've seen some incredible things there. And since that's winding down, there's even more Overwatch action here. Like you said, there's like 3 or 4 games today alone. An incredible weekend of Overwatch, and we get to start by kicking it off here with SCR Ascendants and Smile Anyways in the lower bracket. Two teams still looking to fight for their life back in, but it's going to be interesting because both these teams have a long road ahead and have suffered quite a few punches to end up down here.
Yeah, that's always the tragedy of lower bracket here. You sort of take a punch or two, it goes the wrong way, and it sort of sends you spiraling here. The biggest thing is, can you come back from that spiral, or is it the point of no return here? And that will be the thing for one of these teams here today. And again, just it should be interesting here. EU Masters, so you're not maybe expecting the toppest tier of play, and that means you get to be a little more flexible in those heroes and things like that. So maybe we'll have some wacky strategies rule out here.
I mean, look, if anybody's been watching WCS, we were all wrong, and it's Sim supremacy right now, but we'll see what a lot of teams want to do because there's still a lot of dominant forces. Kiriko's still very, very strong. We've seen in this tier, particularly a lot of Ventures get a lot of value along with Tracer and Genji, so a lot of those flankers still get so much value. So we'll have to see, I think, a lot of what comes out and what these team preferences are because these are two very, very large teams in terms of depth, Mega.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing when you have these super deep rosters here. We're getting a look at SCR Ascendants first. It can be both a hindrance and a blessing here, depending on how you utilize these pieces. But at least starting out here, we're going to have Eric and Marlon on that DPS line, Bonker on tank, and then Milo and Pixen on support here. Obviously, hovering some favorite characters, showing off a bit of a dive composition here. And dive certainly can have its place. You execute fast enough, you really can catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I mean, the dive has been very, very strong, particularly in Masters, where teamwork kind of starts to take precedence. We all know we can aim at this level, so really kind of making sure you can get your kind of comp working together, making sure that comes all together. But these are big teams, so we'll have to see if maybe they even stay in this.
Exactly, trying to stay in it and keep it all together here as now we look towards Smile anyways. Professor Catboy and Caleb on that DPS line, Fifi on tank, and then Varied and Starty on supports here. A bit of a different look here if you're looking at just the favorite heroes, of course. This would almost be sort of a pseudo poke brawl composition for it the most part here, but possibly going to have to be a little bit flexible beyond that here. But if they were going a brawl style, this would be a good place to start it, as per usual, our series is starting on Lijiang Tower.
It will be in Lijiang Tower, but the thing for the Smile Anyways crew is that this crew also has like a lot of history to it. This is a lot of pieces of the former Bliss squad that we saw the last couple. I think it looks like a lot of Bliss Marauders and a couple of the Bliss Excelsior players. So the Smile Anyways crew has a little bit more kind of depth in that teamwork. But like you said, we will be going over to Lijiang Tower, and I don't say last. Everybody loves Lijiang Tower. Everybody wants to play it. I don't really know that it's gonna tell us too much right away, considering just how kind of flexible this map really ends up being. You can kind of force a lot of dive stuff on most of them, but these teams are going to be able to force their own preferences either way.
Yeah, being able to force their style could be the name of the game here, but as per usual, ever since they've been introduced, bans can also certainly play a hindering factor in that series. Um, in the series as a whole here, but obviously starting out, it's one of those things of if you have a read on the other team, you'll generally start there, and then as the series progresses, there's generally things you want to ban out that become more prevalent, maybe more obvious in your eyes rather. But starting out here, what do you think is going to be the realistic ban the Smile anyways could opt for, at least just not maybe not knowing fully what they're going to be going up against.
My initial instinct is if you know your team wants to play dive, like just get rid of something kind of ubiquitous like a Tracer or Genji, something that maybe like is just going to be problematic. We've seen a lot of Lucio bans early here, so I wouldn't be surprised by that. Yeah, Diva would have been one of those other ubiquitous pieces on my thought. It also protects your like tank line if you are wanting to run something brawly. So, I mean, I'm a Diva hater. I'm always happy to see Diva out of the picture, so I like this ban.
Yeah, I mean the defense matrix obviously a thorn in the side. You try to do damage, and then the diva just decides nope, not an
She just eats
option.
everything. She
And
soaks
then,
everything.
the best part is after she eats and soaks everything, she then flies at your face with micro missiles, and it's like, huh, I have no counterplay. I guess I die.
I, I guess I just lose. I guess I just lose here. Ascendants get to punch back now with one of their own. It's going to be hard to tell. Like, this is kind of where I would expect to see maybe that Lucio ban come through if we're expecting to try to kind of counter the brawl out and force them into poke. I mean, yeah, Kiriko is fine. I mean, that's just the dominant, like, flex, quote-unquote, support of choice right now, so that doesn't shock me, but it will be an interesting pick because of how strong Kiriko also is, for the most, has been kind of in this history of Overwatch. So both of these bans kind of just from no real play seen are like fairly good picks. I see nothing wrong here.
Yeah, the Kiriko definitely interesting though. I feel as though that could play a little bit spoiler if you just want to run, what would be the standard Lucio carry. Obviously, having to substitute that with another flex support, certainly doable. But things like the cleansing Suzu, the teleporting through walls nonsense. It's a lot of a good character. Far too
Yeah,
good in my humble opinion. So
you're
having to just plug that in with somebody else, it could be interesting.
well, the problem with that for a team like Ascendants who wants to play dive is Kiriko is kind of the main force on that. You have the ability to duel. You can actually take those flanks and still have some safety while putting out decent heals, kind of like you said, with all those abilities. So it really is kind of those key places because what do you replace it with? If you replace it with an Ana, suddenly you have a very vulnerable target with no mobility. That is kind of a similar position. So it does kind of force you into something like we are going to see, but it looks like it will be from the Ascendants coming out Brig Juno, kind of another one of them stable backlines if you're looking for a way to get speed. Marlin on the Venture. This is just, I love this comp. This is the disruption comp because there are so many stuns different ways. Like if you played in Overwatch 1 and you're so used to getting like chain stun trauma from a tank player, like this is that in the new form, whereas Smile anyways, I
That wasn't the swap I was expecting.
yeah, I was expecting a full team swap, but you know what? Okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, Smile anyway trying to operate as 5 individual agents, but already Bonkers found one onto the Symmetra, looking for a little bit more in the fight here as SCR just being able to stay improved up. VP now trying to make their way to the backline. See, there could be a little bit of damage found out here, but unfortunately you've lost all of those cooldowns and you're relying on just a life weaver to keep you up for the time being here, waiting on that mega health pack to come up. Bunker running into the Bastion head first here. It's a bit of a war of attrition between the guns here, but instead it'll actually be a fall of the Doomfist in the backline here. This here Ascendants gets to just hold point as Smile anyways is just kind of wandering around on this comp. Finally they're being chased down and forced to fully down the retreat and die trying.
Marlin just give themselves up to get buried? I think that's true. All right, Smile anyways, this comp is very interesting. It, like you said, it's very kind of independent, but it's also very kind of focused. We're going to get the Zenyatta coming in now over the Moira for Stardy. I do like that. It gives the Doomfist a little bit more burst potential along with Professor Catboy, a little bit just more high damage. But I do think that this is such a tough spot to be in when you have the Venture there.
Yeah, tough spot indeed. The Vendor trying to follow up onto the Bastion here, but between the pull and the Doomfist heal, it's just not enough. So Marlin's now going to go down 3v3 situation on the point. Nobody wants to shoot that empowered block from PP here. Going to be able to isolate the Sojourn, but so incredibly low, the Brig's going to be able to follow that one up here. So now Smile anyways is going to have to sound the retreat for now here with their tank missing.
I'm still trying to make this out, Lass. I'm going to be real because I'm not, like, I get what we're trying to do here. We're trying to disrupt with Fifi, but we're just gonna get overrun by this now that all these ults are coming from Ascendants.
Yeah, and with these ultimates already being this devastating matter, it feels as though Fifi is just sort of speed running lives here. Professor Catboy is going to find this pick onto Marlon, though, but it can't bunker. It feels like this Malga is anywhere and everywhere all at once, and it's just being a problem now. The Brig running forward with the rally here. The Sojourn trying to pop overclock in the backline here is met with a fist to the face, not once but twice here. Still has a few shots left to fire. Finds the Bastion in the crosshairs here. 1 HP is Professor Catboy finally taken down with Marlon's assistance there. And yeah, that was just a very quick, very disorganized 100-0 for SCR. Smile anyways? Did something hit their PayPal accounts? What's going on?
Yeah, remember how I said that this is a team that played together and was part of an old org, and I was like, oh, they should have you know, like an advantage here. I don't know, Lass. Like, I'm trying to piece it together because the SCR Ascendants comp it's perfect. It's exactly what you want it to do. There's so much disruption. There's so many characters that can keep Eric able to just free fire in the background, and it worked out great. Oh, that was a death. On mainstream. Oh, there was a C9 on mainstream. That's not for us, don't worry. But if you do want to keep both those open, by the way, because you'll get some incredible action over there. Smile anyways into a slightly better looking comp here now with the ball and pharmacy combo, kind of a 3-2 split. I do actually like this a little better because it makes your targets that anybody like Bonker wants to run onto and slam into a lot harder to get to. So I do think Smile anyways, a little bit of a better read this time around.
A bit of a better read here, but Professor Catboy is unfortunately learning that Malga can be accurate when firing one gun at a time here. Eric dropping incredibly low in the Sojourn duel means that Caleb is going to find numbers advantage now also. Yeah, and the resurrect onto Professor Catboy. It means that Smile anyways in this chaos comp have actually been able to secure a numbers advantage here. They still have to secure the objective though, and it has already gone over to SCR, and they have had a bit of trouble removing this Malga from the point, as the Duno is still alive, keeping Bonker in it here as we are just waiting.
Caleb has been playing Gatekeeper to the kind of main fight, but realistically has not helped the fight in a lot of ways. Bonker going to go ahead and swing that back now as fights continue to move. I do think Caleb, again, just finding picks, Caleb has been good on this Sojourn. I just want to see them actually in the main fight now that they have the positioning.
Yeah, that's sort of the hope and dream with Bonker not here. There's not really anybody to sustain the point besides some scattered touches from the rest of SCR here, but it seems as though those are going to be worse for wear as SCR is finally forced to back up.
Yeah, I do actually think this is the right call. These adaptions are good here. DP's now a little bit more live just on this ball. The Mercy makes sense here, but with like the Mercy Lucio healing is a low healing comp, but it's so high utility and just flexibility that as long as Varied with his Valkyrie just continues to stay alive and just float, they should be able to keep the healing high for this team to be alive.
That's sort of the hope and dream here, especially when you have the added presence of the DPS, with the overclock being fired off here. Caleb been good so far, like you were saying, but needs a little bit more to secure some kills in this fight, holding onto the objective for the time being, as there is a bit of a soft reset on the side of SCR now, with the ball spinning around, finds one onto Pipsons and rolls into safety here. Going to be followed up by Caleb here. I mean, the Sojourn not afraid to chase down targets, but for the cage fight into nobody being there, minefield on top of the cage as well. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And it seems like this is actually going to be going back at CR's way with the help of the overclock here, getting a pick as well as scaring the wrecking ball out. Smile anyways is forced out.
Yeah, SCR Ascendants finally able to kind of isolate a couple of these targets. Decisions were made last.
The barrage to get back, yeah. The barrage to be able to fly back up, that's
powerful.
Certainly tech and a half there, but SCR remains in control.
Look, decisions had to be made. I guess when the fight is still going on and percentages is climbing, it has to be done. SCR Ascendants just has the raw advantage now in numbers and in ultimates, so this is probably going to be a question of how little do Ascendants need to commit into this fight, and it only works for them if they commit no ults. It's just better. They'll just win this out.
That health advantage is massive for SCR here. Already using that duplicate here. Marlin going to add a second Sojourn to the field here. Let's see if this overclock can be built up in time. Seems like it won't even be necessarily needed, however, as there's already all of the picks going SCR's way. They have both the support ultimates in the back pocket, and I don't know if Smile anyways can get to the objective.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be that last touch. The sound barrier has to get committed to it. It's gonna get met by the beam, and no touch there, so SCR Ascendants go on and win our first round. Mind you, I believe it was a Smile anyways pick, so that's a good sign for them, considering the Ascendants have had a bit of a tough road through this lower bracket so far. So a great showing from them. They look like a good set of teamwork, even against these very even against a very, very kind of tough looking team in Smile anyways. Like, their communication and their team play looked very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, SCR looked incredible. Smile anyways looked anything but. I mean, it truly it's baffling, right? Again, we talk about how intense these playoffs are. Tournament lives on the line, especially when you're in these lower bracket situations. And Smile, anyways, seems to have just come in without a game plan. They seem to just sort of be five people selecting characters, clicking buttons on their keyboard, and it's interesting to say the least here because there certainly are the bones of a good team. Smile, anyways, they
Yeah.
definitely have played better before. It's just a matter of what's happening today.
I mean, it could just be an off day. It could be awkwardly timed. I mean, there's any number of possible excuses to know, but like, the kind of unfortunate truth of it is that Smile anyway it looked very disjointed, even within, kind of like you said, with the character select. I can see pieces of what we're trying to do, but didn't quite come together. Maybe one of those bands just really hurt them so badly. Maybe the Kiriko band just really just annihilated them, so they just didn't bother. I mean, the good thing for them is that they will get the map and band order choice, so we'll have to see if maybe this next set of this next map changes anything. Because I mean, it's hard not to look at that game and just go, oh yeah, Ascendants just absolutely are going to crush it here. Like, it's hard to not look at that and just kind of assume that that's the outcome.
Yeah, that's sort of what you're expecting here. But interesting enough, as you said, with already a decision being made, we're going to New Queen Street. I can't tell you the last time I've seen Push
Yeah.
second in a series.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting one, especially because this is a push map you do not see picked all too often, right? People tend to lean towards the Runasapi, if anything else here. So New Queen Street falls by the wayside, but who knows? Maybe the Canadian temperatures are just what they need.
Well, so I do think it does kind of play into what they wanted to do for the side of Smile anyways. New Queen Street is very there's a lot of hidey holes. There's a lot of small places for something like a Tracer, like a Kiri, to kind of get in and out of. And we did see a lot of that in their team. So I'm like, I kind of see the vision here, but at the same time, part of me wonders, like, what is going to come out after this, because this is also a good place for something like that Mauga Venture kind of disrupt comp to come out as well. I think the one thing that this does also lend to is Caleb's shooting. This is a very mid-range map where Caleb can take angles and kind of hold out and punish anybody who's in the back. So I do kind of see the vision, at least from like the silhouette, but I think we have to see what else Smile anyway brings to this map.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Because while we have all of this history with Smile anyways, we also have the history of what just occurred on that first map here. And honestly, like you said, Caleb was certainly the highlight. You want that Sojourn to be able to sort of take over the lobby, because that might have to end up being a path to victory here, if everybody else can't get their stuff together. But we'll have to see where they're going in terms of bans. First map getting rid of the Diva. Maybe they've realized that they don't want to play into the Mauga anymore. That could be an option for them. But overall, how else could you potentially go further to enable this Sojourn?
I mean, the Mauga was definitely a big problem. I don't know that you see anything from a distance that really threatens your Sojourn. Like, you didn't see a Tracer, the Venture, maybe the other pick, because that was your only other flanker you really saw. Otherwise, it was a Sojourn duel. So I don't think you're gonna really too much to maybe try to do that. Maybe it'll be something to enable somebody else. No, we are gonna get rid of the Mauga. Sure. Yeah. I mean, Mauga can just close the gap so quickly and still lives for an eternity. If that's your concern, like, yeah, go ahead. I don't hate this pick.
Yeah, Malga certainly is one of those bigger, bulkier tanks that requires a lot of focus fire to make sure he's taken care of properly here, not just in terms of going down, but also just mitigating the value that he can get in the fight there. So now SCR have their turn, their pick of the litter, as it were. And it'd be interesting to see how they're going to go with this ban because obviously, that first map they come away pretty dominant here. But do they go outright for a Sojourn ban, even if they maybe won it themselves, right? Do they see Caleb as that much of a threat, or do they potentially try to counter comp some other way? But instead, it's a Sombra ban here. I don't know what to
Sure.
make of that.
Yeah, I I don't know what to tell you because like it's not like we saw but like I guess we didn't see a Tracer, we didn't see a Genji. If we're worried about like backline harassment from the Ascendants, sure. I'll be honest, I got nothing. This is just this just feels like a random targeted pick that maybe they're just hoping will kind of come out. It's not like Ascendants was afraid of anything. So I mean, I guess if you're just like, what are we not good against, and what do we think we're gonna struggle with, that's your answer. Like, okay, sure. You don't have anything you're afraid of, so let's just get rid of something you feel like you might be weak against. Why not? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as we're looking at the selected heroes here, I mean, Bonkerl has highlighted the love of the Wrecking Ball here, so it could be maybe a nod to that. Maybe wanted to play that Wrecking Ball style and not having to worry about the hacks coming through and removing the Wrecking Ball's utility from play here, just making it that much easier for the ball to get in and out as they please. But as we get a actual look here, like this map, honestly, I feel like it's underrated, and I feel like I really wish we could go back to like when every map was getting a day and night mode, because I'd love to see this map at nighttime. I feel like
I'd say yeah. At this time, this would go fire on it on nighttime. Ascendants showing us kind of a little bit closer to what I expected without the Mauga on board. Just similar kind of rush comp. Lucio Kiri seems fine. Smile anyways. I feel like I've just taken a. I feel like I've taken a blast into the like early Moth meta because we're seeing Zen Mercy again. Professor Catboy does have a very good Widow. I do remember seeing them play a ton of hit scans, so this double hit scan look is actually like kind of very, very good and kind of why I would have expected them to come here. I do really like this.
Yeah, but as we just saw from the overhead look there, everybody just left, like, in a position you normally see Widow, where the Widow is all by their lonesome. It was instead Caleb on the Freya who just gets run down. So now the bot's moving, and nobody on the side of Smile anyways is anywhere close to helping. I'm pretty sure there's a damage boosted Zen somewhere flanking as Professor Catboy is hoping for the 1 in a million headshot here, but Marlon shuts that chance down.
Yeah, again, this is Smile anyway is playing a very separated comp, with the exception being this Zen, like just kind of Zen's kind of the low indicator here. Like everybody else has movement, everybody else has escapes, everybody else is kind of playing independently, and very just kind of a sitting duck. So Caleb now over onto the Tracer off that Freya. I do think this is kind of a similar point, so we'll have to see how Very really survives this, because they might just be hiding most of this game.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that works out here, but BB trying to slam and make a little bit of noise here, but even with that Discord Orb having to roll away so incredibly low on the HP. Meanwhile, the forward spawn's already secured. Marlon decided that panel of the wall there was just too much, had to pulse spawn that, absolutely terrified. Now found this Zenyatta, even with the Mercy Pocket, not going to be enough. The res in the face and getting it off, wow. I mean, sure, the Mercy ends up paying for it with their life here. Now Marlon just waiting to peek the Zen once again here, looking for the third kill on supports here, but actually just going to have to respect it here. 50 HP and Discord, it's going to send this Tracer packing.
I mean, the cart continues to move. Bot's already made it past the first checkpoint, already to 100 for the Ascendants. 2 more picks come in, and I just kind of feel like we're looking at a completion here, Last. I feel like this is nearing that time already. This might actually be one of the fastest completions on push we've had in CGL. if there's no stop.
Yeah, like I don't understand what's happening. Like it's just such an odd disconnect from Smile, anyways. Here, because we can rip the Band-Aid off. Let's call it like we see it. Like there's just active gameplay sabotage occurring from Smile, anyways. And I'm not fully sure why here. Now that they're trying to engage on the point, maybe they can start to turn things around a little bit. But overall, they've dug themselves in such a deficit for this map, and now just forcing the turn just to live a Tracer.
I mean, maybe Smile anyway. Just maybe this is personal. Maybe there's something going on we don't know behind the scenes. But I mean, it looks like they get control back from that. So a fight win is there. It does show you that Smile anyways, like they can do this. Like that's I think the really interesting thing. It shows you that like when crunch time is there, they can do this. They stop the whole push, so they can win. It's almost as if they just kind of straight up don't want to. Catboy's gonna pop the sights. Just to kind of get an idea, but I mean, now it's a long way to go for Smile anyways, and buried again, just the sitting duck.
Yeah, and so now you are seeing Smile anyways try to get this. They got this ball incredibly close back to center. Professor Catboy going to eventually be hunted down by the rest of the squad here. BP able to trade it out 1-for-1 with the hit scans, now missing it from the fight, however. Now trying to trace down this Tracer mirror in Caleb here. Going to finally be able to get the Tracer, finally actually able to do it. Caleb didn't actually manage to pick up the health back in time there. So SCR now can go back to the other side of the map, where meanwhile BP's still just working backwards.
Yeah, just kind of slowly getting through and trying to disrupt doing their job, but I mean, Bot's still now firmly into the side of the Ascendants. Monk going to go ahead and try to push their way through this. Ambitious Annihilation, not sure it was needed, but I guess when you basically already kind of have a good position in your way, you're not mad about it.
I don't know. It's very interesting here. The slam comes through on to the card. They have already gotten one on to Marlin here, and Bonker now with that lacking Nemesis form is going to be a little worse for wear here. The Milo is here with the sound barrier if needed to try to get this whole cap, but already missing members. Potentially might not even commit to getting it. Never mind, they actually do. They found 3 in the fight already. The Venture makes it a 4th, and that'll be the cap finally coming through here. And SCR get the second map and finds themselves on series point.
Well, it wasn't the fastest we've ever seen here in CGL, but you know, I mean, it's quite a statement to make, right? Considering Ascension dropped pretty early into this bracket to come back to a team like Smile anyways, and then kind of make a statement like this, who had a very, very good offseason, but quite a statement. Ascendants really just trying to show they are not out of this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Ascendants absolutely doing any and everything that they need to here, right? They're executing their content flawlessly. It's just, and I want to be able to highlight them more because obviously they're winning the series. They deserve the praise, but it's just so baffling what they're going up against here.
Yeah.
I can't even really wrap my head around it, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, it's such an odd situation, odd predicament we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it is very, very odd considering it is lose and go home here. So, I mean, Ascendants will be going on again. Match point, it's lose and go home here. So, I mean, Ascendants, considering they had to fight back from all the way from their first loss, I mean, this is a good morale boost for them. I think they're very happy to be in this situation. They're fighting their way through. They're getting a W. And, I mean, like you kind of said, they are doing everything that they need to be doing right now.
Yeah, so we will, be seeing how that feels for SCR here, but we will be putting this match on ice for the moment at the very least. Going to throw it to a quick little break while we get everything set up and just sort of process what's happened so far. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Hopefully, you went got yourself a snack, made sure you were all comfy and stuff. We're still here. We're still in the EU Masters round 2 of the lower bracket here. SCR Ascendants, one map away from taking Smile Anyways home for good here, and it's been a match of Overwatch though, Ev.
Yeah, it sure has. SCR Ascendants looking very, very crisp in their play, mind you. It's hard to say anything less than stellar about how they've been looking, but it's just a shame because Smile anyways just seems to, they just seem to not really be in it. It's their choices are very disconjointed. It seems like the decisions are just kind of not quite there. A lot of text in chat too last, so maybe we're playing it. Maybe we're just playing the mental games for the future. But we do have map 3 coming up. But I mean, aside from map 3 and possibly our last map, well, there's a lot of Overwatch today going.
Oh yeah, the Overwatch left, Overwatch right. It's Overwatch any and everywhere here. Um, but I think we actually have, yeah, we just
Yeah.
have tons of different things going on. But looking at this series here, we have Kings Row officially selected as our next map up here. Um, Kings Row, it's standard, it's classic. Um, but now the question is just sort of what we're going to see on Kings Row, because so far these teams, SCR definitely been predictable with sort of the brawl comps that they want to run. Smile anyways, it could truly be any and everything.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to be able to really see much of anything. The one thing I will say is that out of SCR Ascendants, we are getting several different brawl looks. So whatever the bans end up being, I can assume safely we're probably going to see like probably a similar look. We saw the Malga in map 1, we saw Ramacha in map 2, paired with like a little bit of a flanker and a mid-range hit scan. Like there's definitely like a bit of flex, but here's where I could see them maybe getting to something like this is maybe where we see like the Zarya who's gotten a little bit of a nurse stick to it, but Smile anyways, probably just gonna look. History has just kind of shown they're just probably just gonna throw it at another tank. Is my guess because 2 out of 3, it's probably just gonna be like the Ramatra maybe. Maybe there's like maybe they take a random shot in the dark at like Junker Queen or like Zarya or something, just to try to maybe kind of shut that down, or Orisa. But like, look, history has shown they're 2 for 2. They're probably gonna make it 3 for 3 here.
Exactly. More than likely here, but of course we just have to wait and see what that ban ends up being. Like you said, it'd be the best way to inhibit the brawl is taking the Ramatra out of the
Yeah.
mix here, unless you wanted to target some speedy support like the Lucio.
Okay.
But no, it's actually going to be a Tracer swap up here. I mean, technically speaking, the Tracer was running wild on the backline last game, so
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you're gonna try to do something at least to maybe stem the bleeding, like yeah, getting rid of Tracer does seem really good. Ascendants will get a chance to respond here, and again, I'm not sure what they're afraid of at this point. Maybe you just get rid of Ball because like that's kind of been the one thing that's been problematic. Fifi showed us a Doomfist, but that was very, very easily that was very, very easily like dealt with. So I could actually see like Wrecking Ball just getting straight taken out. That being like the only thing kind of giving them any real hassle here.
yeah, definitely could see that being the option here because SCR, again, with the series that's been presented to them, they haven't had that much of a struggle. Like you said, if it's anything, it could be the Wrecking Ball. But at the end of the day, that's just sort of a decision for them here. It's actually going to be the Baptiste.
Baptiste.
Um, I like again, I don't necessarily see where this band's coming from, but SCR, I mean, at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of data to go off of, so ban the most standard thing, force it to your style. If you know you want to play Luke here, you don't give the other team an opportunity to play Baptiste. You know, think of this as standard and flat as we can.
Well, if we're like expecting, so something did kind of come to my brain is that a lot of these players in the Ascendants, the former Bliss squads, they were playing up in GM. They were playing a little bit higher up. So if there's like a fear that maybe we're just going to turn around and like lose on mechanics or something, Baptiste is one of those characters kind of similar to Kiriko, where you can just kind of win duels. You can kind of play for yourself and play to survive. And with Immortality Field, like I don't, I don't hate it, but like you said, like I don't it doesn't necessarily need to be the target. No subs coming in here, so well, I guess that just means we're just gonna play this out the way it is. Mega Ascendants on match point. We'll have to see because we've seen all kinds of insanity when the gates enter.
All kinds of insanity, all kinds of typing in the chat room here, but this could be the end here and now for Smile, anyways, unless they can lock it in and get it together. But that is going to be a very large question mark indeed here. SCR Ascendants getting to sort of coast their way so far. We'll have to see how it's going here. Kings Row, always a standard, always a tried and true classic here. Feels like it's almost too classic to the point where this map can get a little bit standard. You know, there's only so
Yeah,
many ways to crack the walnut, as it were. And when you've been cracking this walnut for almost 10 years,
yeah,
yeah, you can sort
yeah.
of figure it out.
The word that I would use professionally is it gets figured out, it gets solved. The word I personally would use as someone who is not a Kings Row enjoyer after all this time is it gets stale. But we'll have to see because SCR Ascendants coming out on, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, this is the same comp they rolled out in on previous map. I see nothing wrong with it. The Echo from Marlin has looked very, very good coming in from that flex DPS spot. Smile anyways. All right, you know what? This looks like the closest thing to a comp out of them we've seen all day. This is one of those odd spots where Freya gets some play and some flexibility. So, you know what? Mega, maybe we finally decided we want to play some Overwatch.
Yeah, very strong maybe. The jury is certainly going to be still out on that one here. But like you said, it looks more standard when you have this defensive setup here. You have the Freya at range. You're going to have the Ramatra mirror as well here so that we are able to deal with a little bit of this back and forth here. That being said, we have to see what Smile anyways chooses to rotate and do on these defenses. It's a very aggressive teleport in to start things off here. Both of these teams now just sort of peeking at each other, doing a bit of the poke war here. In the meantime, trying to find these openings here. Eric, meanwhile, has rotated over to the high ground, has control of it. Caleb trying so desperately to jump up, but it's not going to be the case here. As now we are seeing the Echo, all this focus fire down onto Caleb, so low HP, and it's actually going to be followed up by Bonk to be able to take out the Freya from a distance here. Absolutely massive. Marlin now looking for some sticky bombs, potentially even a focusing beam onto another target here with both DPS missing. It seems like Smile anyway is going to sound the alarm for retreat.
Yeah, it was a slow push forward, and SCR Ascendants just played it correctly. They wore out most of Smile Anyway's abilities and just kind of played to the few angles they could get, trying to get that high ground for Eric and Marlon to control those high ground and neutral skies. They'll get one without much of a contest here. So kudos to them for playing a slower, safer game. Professor Catboy barely manages to get out there, but the work is still to be done. Starty does have the nano up, built that very quickly with how much healing they've had to do. It probably goes on to Catboy, is my guess. Just get in. Maybe you try to give it to Fifi to get the rest of the Annihilation, but they have the advantage going into this fight. Some Ascendants can win it by pushing a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, and already pushing aggressively here to make sure they're not held at the choke is crucial, but with Bonker taking a sleep on the point here, having to make sure Professor Catboy doesn't do too much here, goes in a little too deep, ends up needing the Fist of Fury from the Ramatra, now a 4v4 situation, handed that nano boost over to Fifi, like you said here. Marlon's actually going to be able to live it thanks to the duplicate here. Now Marlon trying to charge forward, look for usage of the dupe Annihilation. Meanwhile, the other Annihilation from the other squad is going to come out behind. Those arms are crossed. Fifi so incredibly low. The Annihilation is going to run out, but Fifi will at least get to live for the time being here. While squad's now missing the Lucios means this fight is going to be slow to a glacier pace here, as he's just poking back and forth. But Bonker willing to charge forward here, asleep once again at the wheel, has the Annihilation ready should he choose to proc it here. But in the meantime, we're now seeing a Venture on the field for Professor Catboy, and badly proc the Annihilation here. Going to be the first one on to Professor Catboy, now looking for a little bit more with the Ramatra in the backline, finds it onto Fifi here. Marlon now the victim of the sleep here, but it's not going to matter as SCR is going to keep it moving.
Yeah, once again, SCR just hold out. They play their fight a little bit slower and safer and better, and they'll go ahead and do that. Smile Anyways now a full, half a comp change. They'll bring in the Zarya, Catboy onto the Venture, so it's going to be a lot of, a little bit more aggressive, allow Catboy to get in there, get value, and build for Fifi. And Fifi has been strong in this tank role, so I do think Ascendants have to be a little bit cautious of how Fifi plays this. Once that high charge Zarya gets going, it's a big problem.
Massive problem indeed, just like Marlon's massive problem of being caught in enemy territory there now. Caleb empowered, already firing off the overclock here, trying to look for pick, has to hide from being so incredibly low HP. So no more picks come from that one, but sent the tail end one on to Eric there. And the defense is able to stabilize the Smile anyways as SCR sent back to spawn.
Good stop from Smile anyways, now that they're on again, what we would have expected out of this team. Some barriers up on both sides, starting with another nano, means that this is going to be, again, a little bit of an interesting position. It goes on to, that's an aggressive sound barrier, I respect that.
The crouch-only gameplay has been acknowledged here, and that aggressive sound barrier is going to result in Varied actually paying for it with their own life here. So now Fifi missing as well. Beautiful sleep dart, but there's probably not going to be much follow-up unless Professor Catboy can get a whole heck of a lot. It seems like the answer's already been a no to that one. So now you're just seeing the Ana run for the hills here, trying to live.
Well, for now, Bonker gets a little bit more space here. 3 minutes 30 on the clock. 3 ultimates up for the Ascendants, including Sound Barrier that never got used. They got 4. So, I mean, they have the advantage coming into this fight. They just need to use these sight lines and get a pick to close it out here.
Yeah, that's the hope to pick here, but Eric already finds one, and it's going to be followed up by the rest of the team thanks to the Kitsune rush here. So now, already barreling down towards a map completion is SCR Smile anyways. Nobody's going to respawn in time besides Starty, and I don't think the Ana has a speed boost to get there in time. So with 3:11 in the bank, SCR complete King's Row.
You know, we were kind of looking at Smile anyways, who took the back half of that comp to that team to come together, pick a comp that looked like something a bit more competitive and kind of put it together. Even in their competitive kind of a state, they didn't really have it together. They were just behind in the ult economy. It seemed like the teamwork kind of really wasn't together. So, still, Smile anyways, even when it looks like they're kind of taking it a little bit more serious in some regards, or kind of are like, just playing it full power, like, still couldn't quite live up to the Ascendants. So, full timer now, 3 minutes. Ascendants looking towards a full hold, possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's nothing crazy here.
Nothing crazy indeed. This is standard for SCR here with their brawl defense and stuff like that. But now Smile anyways, on the attack. Maybe he can try to make something happen with this aggressive comp, but do you think the ball's going to be able to get in with the rest of the team, or is it going to get isolated?
So it's going to be interesting because I feel like we're going to see similar problems to game one, where Fifi will go in, kind of get left alone, maybe trying to disrupt, and maybe end up doing a little bit of work in the backline, because they've shown that their ball is a pain in the butt. Like, they have done some work on the ball, but I think the question is what happens to Stardy in the backline, because everybody else on Smile anyways is fairly mobile and can kind of get picks or get value, but Stardy really has to play safe. And while the Ascendants are playing a brawl comp, it's really easy to just kind of run onto that Ana when they're not, when everybody's not paying attention to the ball.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing. Ball always demands attention here. Like you're seeing Fifi slamming into the backline already here. Gets the Kiri so incredibly low, but not able to officially convert. Big Tail here now, trying to come back in. Forces Suzu out from Hickson. What Fifi incredibly low thanks to those Freya crossbow bolt shots here, but ends up rolling into the arms of Adventure. Nowhere to roll is safe, as the rest of Smile anyway sort of just left Fifi high and dry there, now missing their Ana as well because Catboy goes in a little too deep, and this attack has been stifled.
What's the thing about the ball comps, these kinds of dive comps, right? Is all you really need to do is make sure you focus out your targets, make sure your communication's good, and you can win these out easily while everybody's kind of playing a little bit independently. And the Ascendants have been very, very good about that. Like, just phenomenally done. You know, trying to get rid of the backliner. He kind of ate it. Now over to the Doomfist. Similar vibe with a little more survivability. I was gonna say with a little more survivability, but never mind. That's a bit less now that they're dead. Eric follows up with the second good one, and yeah, again, Ascendants just look very, very good here. Eric for a third, while Marlon just trying to go ahead and clean this up. Beautifully done from the Ascendant.
Yeah, I mean, Smile anyway seem, you know, like a very interesting position to find themselves in here. The crouch only Lucio is no more. Is very just going to take a swap over to the Moira here. Everybody acting as an independent agent once again here for Smile anyways, because surely that worked out so well before. We'll have to see on the approach here. The Moira walking through Hotel, using the fade to get into the backline is, you know, certainly a practice to say the least. And now with some follow-up from the Doomfist on the high ground, you know, slowly Smile anyways is taking space, but they have to do something with the space, like that pick. Caleb gets to open up the fight, looking for a little bit more here. The punch into the backline gets on to both supports, able to take out both of those targets as well here. Finishing off the Kiriko would certainly put the pin in this here, as Smile anyways is going to be unlocking point A.
Yeah, and again, a lot of it, like you had said, the space made by the Moira and the Doomfist here allows Caleb to get up, get a pick with that rail when they have all the space in the world and everybody's got their heads turned. So, well, anyways, they've shown that they can make these kinds of dive comps worse. Like, they make it work. They're good for them. They'll even get the full capture here onto the capture point segment. 3 minutes now, but Ascendants have the ultimate up. It's just going to be how do they use them to kind of get the stop. Marlon opens it up quick.
Yeah, and now you're seeing Marlon try to get a little bit more here, finally connects those drill shots over to the Mercy here before Caleb takes Marlon out of the fight. Smile anyways, now lacking a numbers advantage here. As Fifi still fighting in the front line here, continually getting empowered punches, allowing this Doomfist to sort of go crazy here. SCR definitely needs to monitor a little bit more. They're shooting onto that one.
Ooh,
wow. A punch to the face takes Eric out of the fight here, as this payload's going to start moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, Fifi is very good on tank. Like, that punch right there kind of tells you everything you need, because I barely saw that. Fifi knew right away, but eventually gets punished out, and that's what you have to be afraid of if you are Smile anyways. You can't just rely on your one or two kind of carry players to run this through. They'll have 4 ultimates on the Ascendant side. Bonker gets a pick, and that means basically it's going to be low commitments for them to win this fight and get a stop. They're in a good spot. Buried sends the Coalescence somewhere in the distance. It's Eric, okay.
Yeah, being able to get that that one pick here, now trying to look for a little bit more here. As Fifi is pushed back here, you're seeing SCR amount of presence on the objective. Now trying to look for a little bit more though, obviously, as what is happening? Why are we fighting all the way back here? So Buried is attempting to spawn camp Eric, I believe, and so far, yes, I guess it's succeeding. As the rest of the team is cleaning up the 4v4 forward. Yeah, so now the payload's moving again.
I mean, yeah. Again, Smile anyways, we kind of know that they are capable of this. There's a lot of talent in team on this, but the problem is just, again, we just need to see what happens. Marlon holding on to this this excavation. 3 ultimates with them, so they have a sound barrier to win the longer fight. They just need to make sure they focus and get a target here because Beefy and Very tend to go, like we've seen, go out of their way, and they are easily exploitable.
Yeah. Now trying to get some kills with the Tectonic Shock, tries to burrow forward here, but it's not going to be enough to convert on the kills here, but the rest of SCR seems to have done the job for the Venture here with a well-timed Suzu as well here. That Doom Punch not able to connect, sent to the low ground. Now you're seeing the two tanks brawl it out fist v fist here. Neither targeted at each other just yet. Another Empowered Punch trying to be built up for a BP here, but it seems like it's just going to be running for the time being. And Smile anyways starting to run out of time.
Just say they have clutch moments, but they need to clutch up and now. They have only a Doom Pistol and a Valkyrie coming in here versus Milloware, who still has the sound barrier, no need, and with Marlon opening up a pick again already, I think we're kind of just done here, Lass.
Yeah, unless there's another punch up here, which obviously is possible when you've got VP going in, but just a little too deep, catches the drill to the face here. So now missing the star player, SCR able to take over and get all of these kills. Now as we dip below a minute, Milo holding onto the sound barrier can be massive for when we enter final fight territory.
Yeah, I was say the fact that they didn't need to commit that there is actually huge and big discipline on Descendants. It would have been very easy to send that in. Last couple seconds here, Eric going over to the Cassius, had enough of the dive, had enough of the chaos. Gonna try to put some hands on it. Professor Catboy still searching for shots. There's no real angles for them to get that. So Smile anyways, they need to create the chaos if they're gonna try to hold this out. And they have to get Miller out of the way first, but that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, not going to happen indeed here, as now we're watching Mercy try to go for a very brave resurrect here, and it's not going to be the case. Now Fifi caught in the slow field as okay.
Okay.
Well, you know, there's 0.1 seconds left, and I don't think anyone's. But yeah, we're just gonna.
Nope. Yeah,
we're just gonna unpause.
Yep.
You know, it was a match of Overwatch, and SCR Ascendants now get to find themselves in that, into continuing on to live another day.
Yep, I mean, a well-deserved win for them. Nothing else really to be said about that. They played well across 3 maps, and their comps looked good. Their communication looked good. No notes. I mean, it's hard to say many notes here when you look at this scoreline: 2-0, 1-0, 3-1. I mean, Ascendants just looked very solid in their play, considering what they were up against. I don't see anything. I don't see anything really wrong with that. I see nothing to say here.
Seeing, yeah, it's absolutely just an interesting sort of setup to say the least here. But yeah, just a quick 3-0 here as we are, you know, again, this is just one match in the bucket. So if we can get a quick look at our schedule, you can see everything that was happening. We had 2 EU matches. Both have. Listen, you know, we're working with what we got. The main people are all in Stockholm. We're working with what we got here, but both our EU matches for the day are done. But count them, not 1, not 2, but 4 NA matches to sink your teeth into later. So that's absolutely amazing here. You know, so if any of those matches look super entertaining to you,
I will say the Boot Trip and Zodiac's game looks actually very phenomenal. I've seen both of those teams play in the open division, and that is going to be very good. If you want something that is going to be a good kind of a good, you know, head-to-head kind of a rivals matchup, look at Subsun and Primordius Rising. Subsun has been kind of a dominant face in that tier. So, I mean, both games starting at the same time, just dual screen them, put them up. It's good stuff either way.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of CGL. We stream all these playoff games for better or for worse here. So with that being said, indeed here, SCR again, props to the win. We'll see them continue on another day here in that lower bracket run, potentially making it all the way here. But that has been this broadcast. I've been Megalaz. That's been Soav. We've had Time to Light in the booth running the show. We've also had amazing the observers, if I could speak, Toxicinator and June, both absolutely amazing. We love all our CGL people from top to bottom. And with all that being said, we're going to leave. So bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Stay tuned for more.